Daily Detroit is brought to you by the community. Support our work at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
Hello and welcome to your Daily Detroit, recorded on Monday, November 23rd, 2020. I'm J.R. Stays. This one's a sports episode, so we're just going to jump right into it. Fletcher Sharpe, good to hear from you, man. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
So let's dive right in. There is just a lot of Pistons news to go through.
So if you were buying your replica Tony Bradley jersey, hoping to get out there and support this young big man who just joined the Pistons, I hope you can cancel your order because his tenure as a Detroit Piston lasts literally just over a weekend as they traded him to the Philadelphia 76ers for Zaire Smith, who is a 6'3" wing player who will probably help a little bit more than a center for the Pistons, considering that their roster now has a bunch of centers. Also, the Detroit Pistons have acquired forward Jeremy Grant from the Denver Nuggets through a sign and trade, which for those who don't know, it was when a team signs a player then promptly trades them, hoping that you absorb their contract. Grant was signed to a 3-year, $60 million deal. With the Nuggets last year, he played a really key role in their bubble performance. And while I think he's a very talented wing player who can help stretch out defense, I'm not sure if he's the greatest pick for this team because a lot of his scoring was done because someone created for him and gave him the ball. I don't think you should spend $60 million on a guy who really can't create his own offense. But here's to hoping that his game develops a bit more and we get to see him actually create and do better because he's not really an old guy. He's 26, so he's still got some tread in those tires. So there's a chance he could develop a bit more. Also a chance that we're getting a finished product who, we wasted money on, a la Charlie Villanueva, Ben Gordon, those years. Hopefully not, because, that was a horrific time as a Pistons fan, and I'm sure Pistons fans don't want to go through that again.
How are you feeling overall on these moves?
The draft picks before everything else, I would say a solid A. With this sign-and trade, I would say maybe closer to A-. Don't get me wrong, Grant is a great player. It's just the system for Denver really worked with him, and the Pistons are not going to be playing like that. Or if they are, they're not going to have the same caliber of players. So his play might not shine nearly as much. Here's to hoping that I'm somewhat wrong in that regard. But, if I'm not, then I told you so.
So overall, you're feeling a bit better about the Pistons as it's coming up for this season?
Yeah, because my biggest thing is if you're going to compete, get the pieces to compete. If you're going to blow everything up and try to start anew, blow everything up and try to start anew. And Troy Weaver looked at the roster and said, you know what? I don't want this. And very promptly changed the roster up. And I commend him for that. He's gotten them younger. He's gotten people who are going to compete. My biggest thing is if you're not going to win a championship, I want you to compete. And every single night, you can lose all 82 games. I don't care about that. But just compete. Don't lose multiple games by more than 10 points. If you lose every game by less than 5-10 points, I can live with that. That's fine. You can lose all 82 games by 7 points. I'll be okay with it. Because it means you tried the entire game and just did not have enough to push through. That's okay. But if you're getting blown out 10 games in a row, that's where I have problems. Or if you're losing games, you don't even look interested, that's where my problem starts in. So as long as the Pistons play hard and just play through, I'm okay with it. And with Troy Weaver and Dwayne Casey, I know they're at least going to try to make them try. I can't see if the players actually will try, but they're going to at least try to make them try, and I can live with that.
Well, going over to the Lions, that was painful.
You'll get to see it again later in a nice new Disney movie about P.J. Walker, the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, who some might not know, but I'm sure a lot do, was a former XFL football player.
I remember, yeah.
Who found his way under the Carolina Panthers roster. And honestly, when I saw that they were going to start him, I was like, you know what? Either he's going to have a terrible day and they're going to do some sort of bad thing where even a terrible XFL quarterback can beat the Lions, or he's going to light them up a la Matt Flynn with the Green Bay Packers. And he didn't really light them up, but he had a few really gorgeous throws and a few really great reads. And he even had a nice touchdown pass where he put a nice little bit of arc on the ball to his receiver. And they made him look like a guy you should be giving $15 million to. Maybe not $50 million to, but they made him look like a guy you should be paying. Honestly, I just hope that Patricia stays for the rest of the season, just for the Ford's sake, because if they try to fire him now, he's got a big thing in his contract where they're going to have to pay him a lot more money. So, yeah, just let him finish the season, then, go to his office and say, hey, man, don't come back.
Right. Well, that clause, I think, might be a reason if they're actually going to make a move on him that they don't. And I mean, also, there's only so much available talent right now.
I mean, honestly, I'd let someone else run the interim.
Yeah?
For right now, yeah, just on the roster. Like it's one of those things where it's like we just want this guy gone. We'll let someone else handle it. We'll regroup in the off season. But he doesn't share all the blame. Yes, they gave up 20 points. Darren Bevel is the one who calls the shots offensively, and this offense is terrible. It is not good. And you have all-pro players like Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, even Stafford, and like you are scoring 0 points against the 3-7 now 4-7 now Carolina Panthers. So like I don't know. I guess the really sad and pathetic part about it is if the Lions were in the NFC East, they'd be number 1 in the division because NFC East, everyone there. Though I guess the best record has 3 wins by the Philadelphia Eagles. It's really really sad. So I guess the only hope for them is to move to the NFC East because otherwise, another tanked out season.
I was thinking about this while you were talking about this, that there's a book sitting downstairs from an author talking about the glory days of the Lions in the 1950s that I'm about to read for an interview. And I realized that it's been since the 1950s that we have had any kind of championship. And it's kind of stunning that it's the same old Lions for so long. Here's a little bit of a foodie one, Fletch. Eastern Market Brewing and the Ferndale Project have a new beer called the Same Old Lager, which just cracked me up because it has an 8-bit Barry Sanders looking character on the front of it. Like, it is hilarious. It's a 4.5% alcohol by volume lager. And I love the tagline for it. It's "Don't set your expectations too high."
I don't know if I would use that for my own beer. I understand why they're using that, because the Lions are terrible and history has you, feeling bad about stuff. I don't know if I'd use that tag for my own beer, but I will say this. I'd give it a try because stuff that has 8-bit on it makes me really happy. So seeing an 8-bit Barry Sanders gives me a reason to at least want to try it.
I mean, 8-bit is the design style lately. It's the thing. Well, grand opening, grand closing, Fletch, because that was the sound of a tweet because Barry Sanders has said that some of you may have seen this in the Freep today. I happen to see it on the Eastern Market Brewing Company's Facebook page. I have no affiliation with this company, and they are using my image without any permission. My legal team is working through the process to shut this down ASAP. Apologies to any fans that were duped. Well, I guess that's already a collector's item. Let's make a move over to Michigan football. They did win, but it was triple overtime.
Triple overtime against Rutgers.
Right.
That's no. That means they were going to lose to Rutgers in regulation and somehow found a way to not mess it up. I don't even have anything to add to that. I feel bad for Joe Milton because he's getting blamed for a lot of stuff that's not his fault. Albeit people did expect for him to be the second coming of Cam Newton when he came to Michigan football. And he's very much not been that. And that's not his fault for not being another supremely talented athlete. But some of the reads he's been making are his fault. Some of the throws he's been making have not been great. But he's getting blamed for the defense being poor. And that's not his fault. His fault lies on the offensive end. I mean, I don't see him starting as quarterback for Michigan for the rest of the season, which is unfortunate for him. But when you play bad, you get benched. That's how it works at big universities.
Well, Harbaugh seemed to be pretty happy with him after coming back from a 17-0 hole, though.
I mean, yeah, but you still almost lost to Rutgers with this person as your quarterback. And if your job is on the line, as his very much is, even though he might not act like it, even though some Michigan fans might not act like it, his job's very much on the line. You almost losing to Rutgers is not going to be a good thing. If you're playing to develop kids, which is what most coaches should be doing, okay, then you keep him in there and let him work it out. If you're playing to keep your job and win, which is what a lot of coaches end up doing, he can't be your quarterback right now.
All right, moving on to Michigan State. Their football contest was canceled on Saturday due to a COVID-19 outbreak with Maryland. But there is a state of play ahead. What is their situation and what are they going into?
Briefly, it's probably for the better their game was canceled because Maryland would have beaten them as well. So we had to avoid a loss on their record. But their next game is against number 11, Northwestern, and that spread offense run by Pat Fitzgerald. And those really smart guys from Illinois are going to open up their defense and then spread them out and then just run down the middle again and again and again and again. They're going to beat them by 30 points.
30, okay.
And honestly, that won't even be the worst loss for them this season because after that, they have number 3 Ohio State, who are very much going to suplex them through the table. Their last chance at a win for the season, besides against Michigan, will be against Penn State. Someone made this joke, and I'll make the same joke, I guess, or jokey statement. The two teams who are really pressing for them to open back up and play football, Penn State and Nebraska, are a combined 1-9 currently.
Woof.
With that one win being Nebraska's. I don't really know what you want to make of that, but Michigan State, if they want to get a win, it'll become their last game of the season because they're not beating Northwestern, they're not beating Ohio State. Only way they win those games is if the field opens up and swallows either one of those teams while the game is happening.
Well, let's end this on the possibility of a new season for both Michigan basketball and Michigan State basketball. This week, it's the tip-off. First off, Bowling Green for Michigan and then Oakland University over the weekend. Feelings on that?
If you're a Michigan football fan, this is your chance to get back to feeling good about your university. Bowling Green is not a great basketball school, obviously so, but it gives you a chance to see Coach Juwan Howard and see your new recruits and get out there and actually, keep up their number 25 rank that they have right now.
And at Michigan State is got Eastern Michigan, and they just announced the tip-off against Notre Dame.
Like I said with Michigan basketball, if you're a Michigan State fan and you're fed up with football, this is your chance to get out there and be proud of your university again. Michigan State currently sits number 13 overall out of the top 25, so it's great to have two number 25 teams in major basketball in the entire state. Eastern Michigan is not a gifted basketball team. That should not be a hard game. Against Notre Dame would be a little bit tougher. They typically bring it out of the Big East, but it's your chance to see Rocket Watts, see how much he takes over now. It's your chance to see some of the newer recruits who came in. Tom Izzo's starting to get higher and higher starred recruits, I guess, as more of the digital age and recruiting comes in. Same with Coach Juwan Howard from Michigan. So it's your chance to see these players play against, I don't want to say lesser competition. I don't want to be insulting like that, but it's your chance to see them play against opponents they should beat. It's a good day to, cheer on some basketball. Although I will add, they should not be playing indoors right now. Definitely not playing indoors. Their coach just came off of having COVID. So, I really don't think they should be playing basketball, but, if they're going to do it, here's what I think they should do. So,
well, that's Fletcher Sharpe. You can follow him at Saint FDW. Thanks so much for your time today. And with that, thank you so much for listening to Your Daily Detroit. A reminder that we are powered by our members, including our newest, Steven. You're awesome. Thank you so much for joining us at patreon.com/Daily Detroit. I really appreciate you. Coming attractions include an episode with Dr. Paul Thomas talking about everything that's happening out there. That'll be in your feed soon. And actually, I think maybe in your feed before the next 24 hours because there's just a lot to talk about. Anyway, I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other. We'll get through this together.